major computer meltdown at this end. Hello, dear Zoomers, my Zooming friends. Oh, record. There we go, record. Thank you. Yes, the Sunday Zoom session I record when I remember or someone reminds me. And then Tiffany, bless your heart, Tiffany, puts the audio onto a podcast, which is accessible by the front page of the website. So, a moment for a nice deep breath. Hello, friends. My name is Robert Beatty. I'm coming to you from Beaverton, Oregon, the site of the massive Proud Boy assault on the city yesterday. Skyscrapers have been in flames, the river has overflowed, and crisis is upon us. It's amazing to me what my friends around the world are seeing. They ask, is it safe to go downtown? Yes. Anybody want to ask about the smoke? Anyway, I'm glad that was a small turnout for them yesterday. A good thing, a good sign. My daughter Tara was down at the, she's working as a medic in those circumstances now. So I get a first-hand view, or a second-hand view, I guess. So, Robert Beatty, Portland Insight Meditation Community. This is the Sunday morning gathering, which has been being broadcast now for coming up on 6 or 8 years, I guess, the Sunday mornings. It was because of these that we were so ready to go online as a community when COVID struck. So let's be reminded of the refuges. The refuge in, I don't know if there's going to be any sound to this or not. No, there's not. So we get what we get. Can't turn it up. Can't turn the guitar up. Is my voice okay? Is my voice okay?
I can hear the guitar too.
What's that?
I can hear the guitar.
Oh, good. Great. This is my Yeti microphone. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. Well, let's go for the good stuff. Let's stop Sit comfortably upright. And as it says in the Satipatthana Sutta, placing mindfulness before us, abandoning grief and covetousness toward the world. Abandoning all concerns for the world. This is the time to take care of ourselves. Many of you have probably heard me say when I was in India a long time ago, my teacher, a lovely man called Bhikkhu Rastrapal, I don't know if it was personal to me particularly, but he said many times, Robert, when I go into meditation, I don't think of you. It's like, hey, that offends my narcissism. But then he went on to say, I don't think of anybody. So what if we were to declare the next 45 minutes, however long it'll be, half an hour, I guess. What if we were to declare it a time when we let the world completely take care of itself? It's not my job to worry about anything for now. And so there we land. We land here in this body. We land where the body touches the chair or the floor or the cushion. We notice the life in the hands. We notice the life where the body is impinged upon by clothing. We can be aware of the face as life. And fundamentally, taking up the practice of mindfulness, of in-breathing and out-breathing. Each breath has a beginning. Each breath has a rising to fullness. A journey from starting to fullness, to changing direction, to declining, to ending. And this breathing takes place in only one moment. And it's always the same moment, it's now. There's nothing fancy to it. It's just simply now, this breath. Of course, the mind wanders. The mind creates a past with memories and a future with thoughts. Let's really let go of past and future. What's happening now? Life, right here. Perhaps a reminder that some people find it useful to make notes, not to take notes, but to note as the chest and abdomen rise, rising, rising. As they fall, falling, falling. Or if you're using the nostrils as your home base, sensations there. In, out, out. And then when the mind is wandering, when an awakening happens, we know wandering, wandering. Returning, returning to the breath. And so let us sit here doing this exercise which strengthens mindfulness, mindfulness that remembers to remember to be awake, and concentration, which is the capacity to stay in one place for a moment or for longer, to stay focused on one thing. Meditation, the practice of being awake, is all about starting over. We're always starting over. Even the term starting isn't correct. There is awakening from the wandering mind, from the trance of everyday life, from the trance of ideology, politics, responsibility, waking up from whatever self stories are present, stories of self. And then there's just life sitting here. And then there's breathing, life breathing. If we were to take a jar or a bottle of clean, clear water and add a few tablespoons of dirt and mud, and we stirred it all up, it would become opaque, difficult to see through, agitated. And then if we let it set for a while, just sit there. If we stopped agitating it or stirring it or adding more, if we stopped doing anything to it, it will settle out. It may take a while. It may take a few reminders to do nothing. But settling happens. And in the mind, we can notice the activities, the energies, in a way, the interventions. That come with memories, or fears, or planning, or the 5 hindrances of desire, or aversion, or restlessness, agitation, worry, or sloth and torpor, dullness, or doubt, despair, dispiritedness. So not only do we learn to allow everything to settle, we also observe that which agitates. We observe that which calms, which quiets, which opens. For we are students of the great mystery of life. The great mystery of this moment. You may well notice that there are gaps. Gaps when you seem to disappear. There's not the breath, there's not the wandering mind particularly, there's just gaps. Isn't that interesting? You might fall also deeply into sloth and torpor for a while. If you're tired and need rest, that will likely happen. It's not a problem. It's the organism taking what it needs. In fact, we say yes to every experience. We might as well, because it already exists. To say no to experience is to be at war. And we certainly have enough war. resting back into the present moment, or resting now in the present moment. What if it's true that there really is nowhere to get to? That this moment is it, here, now? And we are both supported by and cultivate in such a moment mindfully being awake. And being curious, what's happening? What do I notice in this body-mind? And persisting, making a very gentle effort to be here, however that's done. Discovering the emergence of tranquility, equanimity, accepting things really as they are. Slowly, slowly cultivating concentration. And a kind of inner happiness starts to emerge. Sometimes as body sensations, sometimes as the affect of just ease and love and contentment in a way. All the while accepting, opening to whatever does arise. Let us add to the practice of letting go now, letting things be, opening, opening, opening. Let's for a moment experience this separate self. I am separate. This is my name. These are my characteristics. I am. I am this, I am that. And in one tuning, there's some truth to that. For a few years, there is this that we take to be I. And we are surrounded by and in relationship with others who have very similar experiences. Let's allow ourselves to imagine going beyond that. To recognize that what is done to another is done to ourselves. The practice of interbeing. The practice of the golden rule. Doing unto others as we would have them do unto us. And so why not think a kind thought about yourself, to yourself? I really long to be happy, content, at ease, healthy, safe. Wishing, imagining that for yourself. May I in this moment feel safe and content and at ease. And then thinking of some person it's really easy to love. May they too be content, at ease, comfortable, safe. On the in-breath, really feel this in-breath. May all the healing energies of the universe pour into this heart. For any physical and emotional dis-ease there is, surrounded with healing, loving energy. And breathing out, sharing this energy with your friends and loved ones, with your pets. Breathing in, interbeing, part of the world, part of life. Breathing in the strength of the great ancient trees. Breathing out the blessings of all of life. We breathe out carbon dioxide and the trees pull it in and make branches and leaves. They breathe out oxygen and we burn sugars, metabolize sugars. So on the in-breath, recognizing our interbeing with ourselves, with our parents, with our children, our grandchildren, with our friends and loved ones and our enemies. Breathing out a blessing of kindness for all of these categories, all of these beings, all of whom cherish their lives. What a strange thing to come into the world as a being, as a flesh and blood, vulnerable being. Breathing in love, breathing out love. And now, please, prepare to let your eyes open. Notice where they situate themselves on this long form that we are. And then recognizing that in a few moments you will be in the gaze of Dharma brothers and sisters. Why not bring the love and interbeingness of our inwardness to our outwardness? Such wonderfully familiar faces for me now after it's coming on half a year of regular meetings. Pretty fine. It's a lovely practice we can do to just go from postage stamp, living postage stamp to living postage stamp. Wish each person well. These are tumultuous times. May you live in great peace in the middle of them. May you realize that you can only do your little part. The times unfold as they unfold. You may know, I hope you know, who Joanna Macy is. She's one of my great heroes in this lifetime. She's changed my life. She came to Portland 2 summers ago, and it was the last time she would come. She said, this is the last time. And I wasn't going to attend. I was camping with Jennifer, about 3 hours away. But the night before, Jennifer said, you have to go. So I got up real early and drove the 3 hours home, took a shower, and then came. And I was driving down the street, and there was Joanna walking with a dear friend of mine. And it was so wonderful to connect with her. And then she did a day-long workshop. And at lunch, everyone left the room, and I'd been struggling a lot maybe. And everyone left the room, and there she was sitting there. And I went up, and I put one hand in her hand, and another hand on her foot. And I started to get very teary, and I said, you know, Joanna, I'm starting to lose hope. I think it may be all over for us humans. And her reply was beautiful and gentle, patted my hand and she said, well, you know, the Buddha wasn't very big on hope. But then she said, I have just completed a book on hope, but hope as action. But then she said, and what if it is the end for humans and a lot of other species? Isn't it wonderful that you're in a position, Robert, to remember and help other people remember, to be loving and compassionate through the end? Which is always the case. There's always the end. I know several people who are dying right now. Several people whose loved one is dying right now. And in some instances, in very gruesome ways. And then Joanna said one more thing. She looked over in the corner of the room where Jizo, we have this Japanese statue. Jizo is the archetype, the deity sort of, that's not the right word, but of pregnant women and crossroads in Japan. And she looked at him and said, in Tibetan Buddhism, he's so-and-so. And he always chooses to be born in the deepest of the hells. And he goes there, and you know what he knows, which is you can't save anybody anyway. And he goes there in order to bring love and compassion and kindness to the most painful of places. Not to fix it, because it's not fixable. I've lost track of this fellow. His name was Eric Kolvig, a wonderful Dharma teacher. And one of his frequent lines was, samsara, which is the world of birth and death. Samsara is broken. And there's no fixing it. So it so behooves us to learn to live lovingly and kindly and compassionately, and to care for ourselves in our frailties, and to not try to fix everything, to not drive ourselves insane through taking in too much news or trying to intervene in a world which is careening on its own journey. What that requires, though, is that we allow ourselves to feel very powerless. Totally powerless, utterly powerless, which of course we are in terms of the outer world. We got a glimpse of that recently with the fires. The winds changed. Isn't that nice? The winds changed. The twice in a century winds or something crazy like that. If they hadn't changed, there could have been fire in Portland. And then it changed. Not because we did a lot. So, Joanna Macy, what a blessing that was. My for the most part, there was a ratcheting down of my angst from that. It's like, okay, all I can do is the best I can to stay loving and compassionate. And when I get pulled under by my own neurotic patterns or the desperation to save somebody or something, all I can do is pull myself back up to sanity and realize, oh, right, this is how it is. That's a lot, isn't it? Well, Jim, let me ask one thing. I'm going to ask you, dear friends, if you have questions for me after Jim does the movement process. So if something comes to mind while you're in the midst of moving, put a little red flag on it. Thank you, dear folks. See you soon. You got sound, Jim? I don't hear. Oh, you got it? Okay, good. Oddly enough, I don't hear you. So, dear friends, on Facebook, there will now be movement and stretching and so on. Jim's going to do. I'm not going to try to turn the computer screens. Can I? No, I don't have the attachments to do it on this computer. So, we'll be back soon. I'll see if I can get the sound to go, though. That's interesting. least you could hear sound. Oh, I see what's wrong. Speaker, not this.
Practice a lot with mindful movement. Why do I give workshops in mindful movement? Well, it's one way for my ADD complex to learn about the noble truths. And I can use movement to expand my awareness. And so if it works for me, it may work for other people. And so I jump into it and try to do something. For instance, this morning I woke up and I was identified with this image of an old man creaking, moving across the floor and looking for a glass to get a glass of water and all the rest of the stuff that goes on first thing in the morning. And I started moving like this. I just started, I'll turn sideways. I started sinking and rising at the same time. And that whole identification with I'm really an old creaky man started dissipating. The suffering I was feeling attached to that old creaky man started dissipating, and this flow started happening that felt kind of good. There were still some creaks, still some holding. But just sinking, and at the same time rising, there's this awareness in the body of different kinds of flows. My wrists are moving. I can put my attention on the wrists and let the fingers flow downwards while I lift, and let the fingers point upwards when I sink. And I can feel the watery element in my wrists, liquid feeling of the joints. And then there's also a liquid feeling in my shoulders. And it brings a sense of pleasure, pleasant feeling. It's not huge, but it's better than holding on to the idea that I'm a creaky old man. I drop that identification and get curious about how do the knees feel as I sink and as I rise. And then as I pause, just having a few good breaths and a few gentle movements. The me that was creaky and old is now alive. It's more alive than anything else. And it's pleasant. It's more at ease than anything else. If I reach across with one hand and then bring that hand back, and then pay attention as I lift across with one hand. In order for my hand to take this new position across the body, there are sensations in the spine, there are sensations in the hip, in the shoulder, in the elbow, in the wrists, and then I can wiggle my hand, wiggle my fingers. There's liquid in all. I can move my hand with figure eight idea, an image in my mind, figure eight, and I feel all that plasticity, and let that hand relax, reach over with the other hand. First, just focus on the palm. And awareness can be focused in one small area. And I can feel the life in the palm as I look at it. Or I can move into a flow and make a figure eight, and then feel all the loose, flowing, liquid sensations. Then pause Feel the stretch in the shoulder. Feel the stretch down the spine into the lower back. And then follow those feelings as you relax that hand back to where it started. So reaching across, there's a flow of sensations. We can be aware of the whole flow as we turn the hips, pulling one hip back and letting go with the other hip, and then pressing down with the palm of the hand. There's this sense of agency. I'm descending, or you could make it different images in the mind will create different feelings. You can be pressing down, or you can be a leaf just floating down. Depending upon the image, there's a different sensation. Come across, low, and it pulls the shoulder a different way. It's still liquid and it's still flowing. Then lift the hand. It was facing downward. Now face in and bring that attention to the center of the hand. Come across. And then the other hand. As this one goes down, bring the other hand up. And we go into cloud hands. And again, part of our awareness is in the palm of the hand, and we can feel the openness of the upper hand as an openness and an open receptiveness. But at the same time, there's a coordination between the lower hand and the upper hand. And there's this feeling of coherence or orderliness. As one hand drops, the other hand rises. Can you feel how both hands move at the same speed? They know what the other one's doing. And the hips are turning with the same speed. There's this coherence and this flow through the whole body. At the same time, there's this openness in the palm of the upper hand. The aliveness of the body can be followed by this awareness, focused and awareness open. The life unfolds by letting go of the previous gesture. My body's teaching me about impermanence, letting go of this feeling and sensation and gesture. A new gesture arises. It's different from before and pleasant to this fluid system of joints. There's a stretching over to one side. It's pleasant, calming because it's moving slowly. So this mindful movement is bringing deeper understanding of impermanent sensations, impermanent self. The creaky old man is forgotten. And this flow is important. This flow. And then dropping both hands down, standing, connecting with the earth, connecting with the breath. Just this little bit of agency of creating a form and then allowing it to be actualized in movement, deepens the breath. Maybe we can feel the heartbeat, different parts of the body. Come inward. And we get another lesson in that. intervene in order to do a gesture like cloud hands. The hips, the spine, the shoulders, the wrists, all speak to each other and respect each other and flow together into an image as a gesture. Cloud hands. We have a name for it. And naming it helps us remember it. Naming helps us focus awareness on it. It's like a cloud, because it feels like this. The whole body is like a river. It feels like this. Sensation, feet, legs, hips, spine, shoulders, the arms, hands. It's never still. Sensations arising, passing away. Impermanence shining like a million suns. How many sensations have arisen since we started these gestures? How many have arisen since we stood still, sort of still? And another way of concluding to bring it all together into an awareness of ending is to say a circle has to be complete. So we sink and open, make a big sink down the center. That feeling of completeness, the feeling of ending with a little more sharper awareness, a new acceptance of time that's passed, moving. There's another chapter to this session together. The circle becomes a little signal. Move into stillness for a second. Breathe. Feel our gratitude, opportunity to practice together. Gratitude to have a standing form and breathe easily without smoke in the air. Wonderful appreciation of clear skies and visual sharpness in our images, and then clear lungs when we breathe in. I've been appreciating that all week. It's just an amazing gateway to presence. This body breathes. And this heart feels close to all you. Thank you very much for practicing. We'll see you next time. Next time may be next Saturday. For some of you, I'm going to be online with a retreat. So check it out on the portlandinsight.org. Saturday morning.
Thank you, dear Jim. Oh. Thank you, dear Jim. Hello, Frank. How nice. Well, dear friends, I have several announcements. One is, for those of you that attend on the weekdays, 7 in the morning, I will be absent Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Jim will be in the teaching seat on Monday morning, and Kendall Summers will be here on Tuesday, and Doyle Banks on Wednesday. Jennifer and I will be in a little cabin on Mount Hood, the 3-day little getaway we were planning back when the fires preempted them. Also on Tuesday night, and I will put the announcement for this both on the Connections listserv, mailing list, and on my blog, which is at robertbeatty.com. There's going to be a gathering of Ruth Dennison students on Zoom through Arena Weissman at Damadina. I will be hosting something here, but I'll be gone. So I'll put that there, and if you'd like to connect in with the greater world of honoring and respecting Ruth Dennison. It's 5 years since her death, which is kind of shocking to me. So that's one thing. And I guess this will be the last mention of this particular part of it anyway, which is that it's an invitation to practice generosity, and also interbeing and your connection with this community and your support for the community. A lot of good comes out of this place. And so if you are already a member, a monthly donor, please see if there's some way you can increase that fits your sense of well-being and giving. And if you're not a monthly donor yet, I invite you to do that. You can do it via the website. And any amount is great. The idea is that there's an ongoing commitment, and we're pretty. I think we're probably over 50 new monthly donors, and what that means is that we're probably 3/4 of the way to closing our budget gap for the year, which was $30,000. So that's pretty darn cool. We've been very successful in that, and I thank you on behalf of the board. On behalf of this beautiful organization, it's a healthy organization called PIMC, I am really grateful. Who would have thunk that PIMC could turn into this? I certainly didn't when Ruth handed me that first check for $10,000 way back when. I had no idea how it could happen. And lo and behold, because of you. Okay. I have a direction to go, but I thought I might be more open with questions today. Every now and then. I haven't done it in a long time. TMI, Jim. So I'm going to pause for a moment and see, have you questions about your practice and about what's happening in your and our lives? And if there aren't, I'm going to speak about skillful speech.
I have one comment. I just looked up Jim Galton's the classes and events, and under current first Saturday retreat, simple practices, simple awareness, the date that's listed there is September 5th. When you go into the posting all the way down, it's October 3rd. But just at the top level, node/4, it says September 5th.
Sadly, he's not here to hear you.
Okay.
It's so hard keeping up with all the information stuff. It's really a pain in the butt.
If you keep digging down, it ends up being
great.
But, yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Or maybe he's being, do you remember the limerick about the lady from Blight? There once was a lady, there once was a lady from Blight who traveled much faster than light. She left here one day in a relative way and arrived back the previous night. Maybe he's going to do the early September one soon. Thank you.
Robert, Joan.
Hello, Joan.
I have a question. During the meditation part, by the time when it's over, and I don't think I've fallen asleep, I can't really remember what you've said. And it always feels like it's really important, but it just goes out of my head. Explain that.
I can't explain it, but it's just fine. All I'm doing in my speaking, it's not really, I don't intend it much as a cognitive process, it's a pointing process. Notice this. Notice this. There's nothing to remember. Notice this. And what an interesting thing to notice, that there you are, you're there for half an hour or something, and there's nothing to take away from it, in a way. That's great. What a break.
Hi, Robert. It's Kat.
Hello, Kat.
Hello, Robert. Hello, Sangha. I wanted to share something and also then a question, which feels a little embarrassing and vulnerable to share, but today is 30 days sober for me, and that means that I have been coming here for part of this practice for 28 days. And I just wanted to express my gratitude to this group for the incredible support and soul filling that it has provided for me in this month. And so just wanted to express big gratitude.
Wait. I think we should all wiggle our fingers and applaud. Yay!
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. My question is, the morning meditations and the Sunday meditations are really, really easy for me to show up to. And on Saturday, when there's not a group meditation, all of a sudden, sitting for a minute feels basically out of possibility. Like it just goes away. And at first, I was just trying to accept that and be like, 6 days a week is really great, considering 0 to 6 is wonderful. But I noticed that starting with Sunday mornings, I feel so discombobulated from Saturday compared to the rest of the week. Mm-hmm. And so I was wondering if you had any suggestions on practicing alone.
Just do it! That was the, did you see the Nike swoosh? Dave popped something up here on the chat that came flashed by, which was try walking meditation. Or go for a walk and just be mindfully walking. Or put on some music and dance mindfully. Or sit for 3 minutes. Don't make it long. Just do it for a few minutes. Or, as Ruth Denison would say, make up a meditation. Get in your living room and just move a hand and bring it back, and move a hand and bring it back. And do that for 2 minutes. Or stretch mindfully for 2 minutes. Keep it small. Coercion doesn't work. Wisdom and kindness and just keeping the practice in mind will really, or scramble eggs mindfully, really. You have such a cute little dog. Reminds me of my little white dog. So quiet, your dog. Oh, there's another possibility. Go to the website, portlandinsight.org, and there are 10 or 15 guided meditations there. Or pull up one of the, you can go to YouTube or Facebook, and these are recorded there. You could do the meditation from earlier in the week, or a month ago, or 2 months ago. There's a few ideas.
Thank you so much. I'll stick with the swoosh.
Just do it. Oh, there's that little dog. Big dog, giant dog. That dog's bigger than you are. Oh. Anybody else have a question?
I have a question.
Frank.
Hello, Robert. Hello, everybody. Greetings from Germany. I've been joining your wonderful online services in the last months. Thank you very much for that. I feel very much supported and also part of the PIMC community. Now, this is just a practical questions. Here in Germany, we also have restrictions for seminars and gatherings with the COVID. And according to the size of a seminar room, it is allowed to gather and work with each other. So this is just a question I have. Is it zero allowance in Portland for the time being? Or have you or the board decided that you just want to be online only for some time for reasons?
It's changed. There was a time when we could have gathered and had as many as 50 people. And now I believe now, for religious organizations, it's 25. And so it would be possible, but it requires a tremendous amount of effort and preparation and who gets to come. That kind of decision. So we decided as a board that for now we're going to stay as we are. We were on the brink. I went and measured the backyard, and we actually went. I used lime, and I made little spots where everyone could be, and we could get 60 people in the backyard, and the weather was good, and so on. And then Gregory checked, and then it turned out that the law, the whatever it is, was 25 people max. So that's why we haven't done it. I've been tempted to do it and to say, those of you that come online all the time, please wait till the very end to give people who don't come online a chance. But the people who aren't attending online won't even know about it. You know? It's a mess.
Okay. Thank you.
Partly, I think also that these online classes, gatherings have been so well attended. And the same is happening for the other teachers too, for the most part, I think. Though, I might put a little advertising in for Kate Staples teaching on Friday night and Kendall on Sunday evenings. They're, for some people, awkward times, but they're both really lovely teachers and have a lot to say, so I want to just remind you that that's happening too.
Robert?
There she is. Hi, Cricket.
Hi, Robert. I don't have a question, but I received an email recently that really made me think, and I'd kind of like to share it with you. It's sort of a story form, and the comment was that you have a cup of coffee, and someone bumps into you, and the coffee spills. And the question was, why did you spill the coffee? And the answer wasn't because someone bumped into you. It was because that was what was in your cup. And if you'd have had tea, you'd have spilled tea. And the moral of the story is that life always bumps into us at different times. And the question was, what do we have in our cup? And if we have anger and mistrust and violence and irritation, then that's what we're going to spill when we get bumped into. And if what we have in our cup is love and compassion and caring and gratitude, then when life bumps into us, that's what we're going to spill. So that we should think about what we carry around in our cup.
What a nice idea. Thanks. Well, I think I'm going to. Anybody sitting with something urgent or that you really want to say? Let's not cut that off if there's someone. Oh, Keith. You going to play for us? You're not even plugged in, I don't think.
I am plugged in. But
Oh, give us a little lick. Come on.
I don't know about that. I don't even know if you can hear it. I just have it on lightly.
Well, turn it on louder. Here we go.
I was just doodling around while we were talking. Just goofing. I'm just running through exercises.
Whoa. How about Little Wing?
I've been, actually, my daughter and I have been working on Blackbird. She's playing it on the piano, and I've been playing it on guitar. So
Yeah? What's it sound like?
Well, my daughter's 6.5, so
I see.
It sounds like fun is what it sounds like.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing.
Well, thanks for being here.
Well, I want to read two things. One is a poem from William Stafford that goes like this. And I'm prompted to do this because of the extraordinary moral and ethical degradation that is happening from the top of our country. And from the confusion that's being sowed or sown from lying, pervasive lying, which if we do a lot of lying, we confuse ourselves. And if there's a lot of lying in the environment, then everybody gets confused. And then we start losing our roots. We start losing contact with ourselves. So I want to read this poem from William Stafford and then read the chapter in my book, which is very short, the chapter on why speech. If you don't know the kind of person I am, and I don't know the kind of person you are, a pattern that others made may prevail in the world, and following the wrong God home, we may miss our star. For there is many a small betrayal in the mind, a shrug that lets the fragile sequence break, sending with shouts the horrible effects of childhood, storming out to play through the broken dike, And as elephants parade holding each elephant's tail, but if one wanders, the circus won't find the park. I find it cruel, maybe the root of all cruelty, to know what occurs but not recognize the fact. And so I appeal to a voice, to something shadowy, a remote important region in all who talk. Though we could fool each other, we should consider lest the parade of our mutual life get lost in the dark. For it is important that awake people be awake, for a breaking line may discourage them back to sleep. The signals we give, yes or no, or maybe, should be clear. The darkness around us is deep. There's several powerful lines in there. This one, a shrug that lets the fragile sequence break, sending with shouts the horrible effects of childhood, storming out to play through the broken dike. So one more time through this. If you don't know the kind of person I am, and I don't know the kind of person you are, a pattern that others made may prevail in the world, and following the wrong God home, we may miss our star. For there is many a small betrayal in the mind, a shrug that lets the fragile sequence break, sending with shouts the horrible effects of childhood, storming out to play through the broken dike. And as elephants parade holding each elephant's tail, but if one wanders, the circus won't find the park. I call it cruel, and maybe the root of all cruelty, to know what occurs, but not recognize the fact. And so I appeal to a voice, to something shadowy, a remote, important region in all who talk. Though we could fool each other, we should consider lest the parade of our mutual life get lost in the dark. For it is important that awake people be awake, for a breaking line may discourage them back to sleep. The signals we give, yes or no or maybe, should be clear. The darkness around us is deep. Mindfulness for a Happy Life. You can find how to purchase it on my website. There's several links, and the publisher is the least expensive. Okay, where to go? I had it marked. Okay. Not much longer than the poem. The third facet of the Eightfold Path is wise speech. How we speak, including how we communicate in writing or online, can do great harm or remarkable good. The ability to communicate instantly, anonymously, or with avatars online through text, social media, or comments can create the conditions that allow us to communicate in ways that are unwise. We can injure with our speech in ways that are every bit as real as injuring someone physically. The models that we are offered in the media and modern culture do not provide us very effective ways of speaking. The same problems existed in the time of the Buddha, and he provided fine guidance concerning speaking. In order to do no harm with our speech, we use mindfulness to help us refrain from lying, slander, gossip, and idle chatter. The last of these, idle chatter, pertains to meaningless speech that is used to avoid silence and simply being present. Most of what is heard in the media is idle chatter. Of course, some of what might be called idle chatter is necessary as social grease, when the content of what we're saying is not important, but we are non-verbally reassuring each other of our caring, attention, and goodwill. There are 5 characteristics of speaking skillfully. They are truthfulness, helpfulness, necessity, kindness, and timeliness. When you can say yes to all the following questions, then you're speaking wisely. Is what I am about to say truthful? Is what I'm about to say helpful? Is what I'm about to say necessary? Is what I am about to say kind? Is it the right time to say it? It's important to ask yourself whether the words you choose to say are truthful, helpful, necessary, kind, and timely for you as well as for the other person. Something you want to say may be true and helpful, but not necessary. Try not saying it. Similarly, you may have something to say that is necessary, but you're unable to say it kindly in that moment. Try waiting till you can speak out of kindness and without rancor. Sometimes something you have to say may be truthful, helpful, necessary, and kind, but it's just not the right time for that statement to be uttered. Then it's wise to wait for the right time to speak. Other times we may seek to protect someone by not saying something, and in doing so harm ourselves. Sometimes in the end we harm our relationship and the other person by waiting too long to speak. In such a circumstance, it's wise and skillful to speak up. Wise speech does not mean avoiding difficult conversations, nor does it mean that every time you speak, great peace, beauty, and love will be the result. As you develop your skills in wise speech, you'll negotiate difficult conversations with greater wisdom. After a difficult encounter, you will experience greater ease from your part of the exchange. Wise speech also does not mean that you never express anger or other difficult emotions. It does not mean that you should suppress those difficult feelings. Suppressing feelings is a form of violence against yourself. The suppressed feelings don't go away, they just come out sideways and in unexpected moments. Sometimes this indirect expression of emotions is especially apparent in people who will only permit themselves to say nice things. Wise speech does mean that when you express difficult feelings, you do it in a way that minimizes harm. For example, you might bring up difficult feelings with a friend or a therapist who is not involved in the situation that gave rise to the feelings. Exploring your feelings in this type of environment is wise, because the other person is one who can listen without judgment or reactivity. So it's more of a précis than an article. But I was prompted to speak about wise speech because we're living in an ocean of lies now. And it really is confusing. And so for us in our own lives to really emphasize being as impeccable in speech with ourselves and with our loved ones and everyone we talk to as possible is an antidote in our own consciousness to feeling crazy. I will also put a link to this in my blog. There's a short, it's about 40 pages, 40 computer screens, a little booklet by Sam Harris called Lying. And it's really worth reading because he really unpacks it, the issue of, quote, little white lies and when it makes sense to lie, and basically he takes the position that it never makes sense to lie. And I would say that reading that little article changed my life in a significant way. I was working with an extended family. There were maybe 15 members of this family in which one of the women was dying. And we had, it was a complicated, messy situation. And we had maybe 5 meetings, maybe more. And then she died. And it was just at this time that I read this little booklet on lying. And they invited me to go to her memorial gathering, which was on a Thursday night. And that, and when I got it, I kind of grimaced because I didn't really want to do that. And Thursday night was the one night of the week that Jennifer and I had alone. And I watched as I began to compose an email that wasn't true. You know, I was making an excuse. And then because I'd read that little article, I thought, no, I'm going to tell the truth here. And it was so hard to do because I knew it would disappoint them and so on. And in the end, I wrote, you know, I'm so glad I got to work with your family, and it was really a privilege. And I forget how I worded it, but it was essentially, I've decided that I'm not able to attend the gathering because it's the one night a week that Jennifer and I have together. And I hope you'll understand that this is kind of a sacrosanct thing. And it was totally honest. And they wrote back and said, "Oh, of course. Sure, take care of yourself. I'm so glad you did you did so much good for our family. Take care of yourself." And so I've been much more prone to doing the work of that, to be honest. And it's really a powerful practice. And I guess I also want to say that the Buddha's guidance is really good on what not to do. It's not so strong on what to do. And Doyle Banks, one of our teachers, Doyle, is an expert in nonviolent communication, and the Buddha would approve of Marshall Rosenberg and nonviolent communication on how to say, particularly how to say the difficult things, and also how to be compassionate and empathic in all of our communication. So I think that's really what I wanted to say. Or maybe one more piece on idle chatter. One of the things I mentioned in the book is almost everything through the media is idle chatter. In fact, Jennifer sent me, I can't remember if this was a video or just a description, but I think it might have been a video. There's a person who looks sort of athletic, and a person who looks like an older person dressed in a suit, a guy, and they're talking. And the older guy in the suit says, "So John, how was your sportsing today?" And John says, "Well, we weren't sportsing very well. In the second half, particularly, our sportsing was," and you can fill in any sport. And it's always the same, utterly meaningless conversation. So why do we do that? Well, it's a great way to keep distracted from the fact that there's dukkha. So I can I have to be a little careful what I say about sports because some of my Dharma friends are very, very into sports. And it's always very funny to me how people have a team, our team. Right? There's the Portland Trailblazers, none of whom come from Portland. They came from all over the country, and they're hired gladiators, and they're incredibly beautiful athletes. I mean, the way they move is astounding. But how one can get revved up, fired up over one team or the other, it seems very funny to me. So, get myself in hot water with that. So friends, have you got anything you'd like to share about skillful speech or any questions about speech in this time of lies?
Robert. This is Vic.
Ah, hi, Vic.
Hey there. So one of the things that comes to mind about our current frame of mind is that, I think social media has actually created this perfect storm for creating cult-like behavior and cult-like groups. And it almost seems like, there's also very sophisticated psychological warfare from groups that are trying to create these cult behaviors. So I know you've spoken about cults before. It almost seems like people who have done research on how to deprogram people from cults might be interesting things for us to think about and figure out how you can actually use that for maybe breaking this logjam that we have. I don't have a very fully formed thought about that, but thinking about cults and deprogramming seems like something that would be very useful for us to think about today.
And I will try to remember to also put this in my blog. Another one of my great heroes in this lifetime is again a man called Robert Lifton. And Lifton was one of the first people to visit Hiroshima after the bomb, and to study the people there, to study what had happened to them, psychologically, emotionally. He was also the first person to study the American prisoners of war who came back from China after the Korean War, and they were involved in the indoctrination camps. He wrote a very important book called, the short title is Ideological Totalism, but it's about the brainwashing camps in China. So anyway, he created, if you Google Robert Lifton's eight points on what makes a cult. What is a cult process? And it has nothing to do with the beliefs. It has to do with the processes that are involved. And I was first given this when I was coming out of the cult, and the quote deprogrammer gave me a copy of chapter 22 of Ideological Totalism, and suddenly I could think about what was happening. It was incredibly useful. And all of that to say, social isolation with people who believe what you believe is very dangerous, because we can get into cult mind. And loading the language is another one of them. That if you leave the group, you'll die, or you'll fall into perdition or whatever. And so you're very right. I'm certain that the way that we get siloed into our communities and we only hear one side of things, and also with the way the news is now set up, we have a state news media channel, which is basically a one-sided view, and the other-sided views are pretty narrow and channeled as well. Actually, yesterday I had a great example of this craziness. I was involved in a family meeting, and one of the people in the family meeting lives in North Portland, and she was a little hysterical about, there's 20,000 Proud Boys coming, and my thought was that I don't think so, and it turned out it was 200 maybe that showed up. It was a dud. But the media had played it all up into this big thing. So the question would be, how do we get people to listen to all sides? How do we tone down our discourse so that we can hear one another? And I have no idea how we put that into play, except I think to not go into hysteria, to not go into lying, to not go into attacking, to be based in love is probably the strongest thing that we can do. But it's a mess, isn't it?
Hey, Robert, it's KB.
KB, hi.
Hi, first of all, thank you so much. You helped me a great deal. And
Yay.
my question is this. I have been, well, we all have been, seeing the other side of the political spectrum in terms of the base, the Republican base. And I hear what you're saying about compassion and love, but when you take into consideration that a solid majority of the Republican base take joy in hating liberals, it's just a fact. I see T-shirts that say "No habla libtard" and Trump 2020, make the liberals cry again. And there is a substantial amount of these people who kind of live to hate. And so it's really difficult for me to turn and face that kind of thing in the way you described, because one, it plays right into their worst reactions to us, which is, oh, we're all weak, and that's how, and we're nice, and that's why we're stupid, right? So I'm having trouble activating your wise response in a way that is not coming back, boomeranging back on.
Lots of pain in there, huh? Oh, I lost you.
I said it's been in there so long I don't even know that I feel it anymore. I just have this, I'm just, as you know, like on the crest of this wave of being overwhelmed all the time.
I guess there's a question of what do we hope to achieve? And straight from the lips of the Buddha, we have hatred is never healed through hatred.
Hatred is never healed through hatred?
Or hatred is never appeased through hatred. Only through love is hatred healed. This is the ancient law. So I'd also say, I think there's a lot of people in the liberal camp who get a certain amount of great delight by having a shadow opponent to feel better than and to hate, to be in opposition to. And now what did...
It's handy to have an enemy.
Exactly. Well, if as long as I have an enemy, I don't have to look at my own addiction or the fact that my marriage is falling apart, or that I don't know what to do when I'm not on media. We can stay. It's one of the dangers of activism. We can stay caught up in opposing the other. And one of the things that Marshall Rosenberg was very clear on, I heard him do a wonderful talk one time live, which was, he said, it can take really quite a while to get there, but when I get both parties speaking of their feelings and needs, rather than their opinions and ideologies, resolution is within 20 minutes. And so if our intention is to bring an end to some of the hatred, then we must start in ourselves. And demonstrations and confrontation kind of things may not be the way to peace. They may be dead ends in a way. I kind of wish everybody in Portland would take a couple of weeks off, actually, because I don't know that it's doing any good at this point. But that's getting into politics, and I don't know. But I don't know about that. But if I want to live lovingly, if I want to live at ease it doesn't help me to be hating anybody or feeling superior to anybody. And instead, I have a rather close person who holds pretty strong right-wing views, and we get along really rather well because I listen as deeply as I can and draw this person out. And what is it? And it always goes down. It's not about the politics. It's about their personal pain. It's about their fear.
Yeah.
So the Dharma isn't primarily a social remedy. The Dharma is a path to liberation and to living happily.
Thank you.
Thank you, my dear. Well, dear friends, it's already noon. I get to do a few little things around the house and then put away my electronics for 3 days. My computer's screwed up. Maybe I can get it to the doctor before I go. That'd be good. So anything else anyone would like to share before we go?
Robert, this is Suzanne.
Hi, Suzanne.
So you and I were supposed to be on Cortez Island before this all
Yes,
happened.
yes. That does suck.
With many at Hollyhock, and I'm sad about that.
Oh, here we are.
But I was really fortunate to make a retreat for myself at a lovely retreat center called Earth Center on Whidbey Island, where I have been since Thursday afternoon.
Oh, nice.
And staying till Monday. And I'm really just recording because everything going on. I'm getting up at set to do, but I love listening to the morning meditations at other times a day. And since I've been here, there's just such a wealth of, Sunday meditations and Dharma talks and daily meditations, and it's been great. I've been able to make my own little retreat. So I'm really missing everyone else who would have been there. And I'm looking forward to next weekend. But I just wanted to say thank you to you and PIMC because I got to have a retreat with you, even though you weren't here.
Yeah, it's
And that's great.
Hollyhock not happening is quite disappointing to me too. I love that pilgrimage up to Hollyhock, and that retreat is always very special. And the change of season is so dramatic there. But hopefully we'll get to do it again. I hope. I'm on the schedule for next year, and there is the weekend retreat coming up. Well, dear ones, I gotta go. I get to go. Yay! Now, what a privilege, huh? Talk about privilege. To not be scrabbling for survival, to be able to go and take a few days off to rest and recuperate. And I think a lot of sleeping is about to happen. Sleeping and sitting by the river. I don't know, but we've had a lot of rain. A bunch of rain, and I don't know if it's enough that the salmon will be running. The salmon may be in full blast right now, which would be really wonderful. Jennifer is, she's a veterinarian and quite a naturalist, and I don't know that she's ever happier. when we're there with the salmon. There's a couple of places up the river that you can get to, and you can climb. Well, just the way the structure of the bank is, you can be right above a salmon, a gravel bed. And there's the whole thing is happening right below you with a female that's going back and forth, and then all of a sudden the males will come in, and then they do their thing, and then they die, and then they're scattered around the river. It's quite something. Oh, and I got lots of things to pass on today. I've been recommended by two people. I forget the title exactly. The Man Who Learned from an Octopus, or it's on Netflix.
Octopus, My Teacher.
Octopus, My Teacher.
Octopus, My Teacher. It's a phenomenal.
That is a movie worth watching.
I watched it twice, Robert, and a friend of mine had gotten it recommended by Jack Goldstein.
Yeah, it's a story of human transformation and extraordinary photography. And it portrays the amazing intelligence of an octopus. Quite beautifully done.
Also, the amazing love of an octopus.
Yes. Yeah. So, should we sing our way out of here? Here we go. Oh, we're all unmuted already. Or I guess you have to unmute yourselves the way that I'm in. Ready to go? 1, 2, 3. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I always want to howl at the end of that. Goodbye, dear friends.
Happy holiday.
Bye. Enjoy your trip. Have a nice time, Robert.
Thank you,
Bye,
Kitty.
Frank.
Michael,
Thanks for joining us, Frank.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Nice, Frank.
Bye, Robert.
Bye. Michelle in a mask.
Meditation at work today.
Ah, very stylish mask.
Yeah, painted this room.
It's a good color.
Have a wonderful trip.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, Columbia Lunda. Goodbye, friends on Facebook and YouTube. Looks like it worked okay.